Today, I'm bringing you a fascinating compilation of the weirdest and most interesting topics people have experienced. Topics such as the simulation theory, time travel, doppelgangers, and children who remember their past lives. But not only that, I'm also including my own out-of-body experience at the end of this video, where one day I woke up, got up, turned around, and I saw myself laying there. It was beyond freaky. But before we get to that, let's start with some simulation theory clips, which is the idea that the reality around us is nothing more than a computer simulation. Let's check these out.
Y'all need proof that we're living in the Matrix? I'm sitting here eating apple slices. I'm like, I think some soup sounds good. And the soup has the audacity to tell me apple slices sound good. I don't need any more evidence. That's enough.
The Matrix blows my mind because what do you mean there's carrots at every single grocery store? Do you know how many freaking grocery stores there are? Do you know how many freaking carrots that is? Like, that makes no freaking sense. There's no other way other than energy being loaded into the program that makes it that there's carrots and produce and meat. Chicken. Do you know how much chicken is at a grocery store? And then if you go down the street, there's another grocery store with the same chicken. Like, where is this food coming from?
These Sword 2 videos that are coming out have made me realize that there's a high likely chance that you and I have been getting fooled for decades with videos that we believe to have been truthful that were just AI generated. Well, no, that technology just came out. No. If you and I have access to technology and can prompt a video like that and make it real, just imagine what they have had for decades. Oh, they wouldn't do that. They absolutely fucking would.
We're definitely living in a simulation. Well, Bailey, how do you know that? Because of red lights. The second that you act late, rushed, frustrated, you're cussing someone out behind the wheel, the universe goes, that's cute, that's cute. And you're gonna hit every red light on the way there.
Bro, on some like, we live in a simulation, Matrix, whatever shit, I will never understand how when I come to pick up a prescription, everybody else takes freaking 10 years. Oh, but when I pull up, it takes like 2 minutes and I'm gone. What are y'all doing?
Next up is the idea of time travel, one which I'm a huge believer in, because once it's invented, no point in history is safe. Besides, the idea of retrocausality and remote viewing prove that time isn't linear, as in a straight line, but rather three-dimensional, where any point in time can exist at the same time as another point in time. It's a trippy concept, but there's a lot of science to back it up, so let's check out some time travel videos.
Listen, the reason you don't see any time travelers is because they're all back in 1997 eating kudos bars and their juicy blur sweatsuits on their way to a Blockbuster video listening to Hoku, and they want nothing to do with 2025.
Someone explain to me how flying over time zones isn't time travel. The concept of time zones is not lost on me. I just feel like landing at the time that you're not supposed to be there doesn't make any sense. Let me put it in perspective. Let's say you're taking a flight from New York City to Los Angeles, and that flight takes off at 12 o'clock noon. A flight from New York City to Los Angeles is like 5-6 hours, something like that. Let's call it 6. You take off at your noon, and then you experience 6 hours of flying. You land in LA, and it's 3 o'clock. Where did that come from? Why is it a different time? I get why it's a different time, but why is it a different time? It's giving you more time in your day. That's 3 more hours of sunlight that you get to experience. Is that not time travel? Like I mean, I get it's not time travel, but like, isn't it kind of time travel? Am I bugging? Dude, am I tripping balls? I feel like I'm kind of not.
I was on the phone with my boyfriend at 9:59, and I looked at the clock and I was like, let me go to bed. Let me let you go, because I want to go to bed at exactly 10, lights out. Within the minute, I want to have my eyes closed, everything off, because I like to go to bed at even times. And hung up on him, closed my eyes, and then I was like, well, let me set an alarm really quick so I don't sleep until some obscene hour. Turn my phone back on. I'm setting an alarm. I just happened to glance at the time because I'm like, oh, okay, I want to make sure it's not 10:01, because if it's 10:01, I'm going to have to wait till 10:30 to go to sleep, so I'm going to scroll on TikTok for 29 minutes. Check the time. I look at the time. It's 3:30 a.m., like on the dot, 3:30 a.m. And I was like, okay, that's not right. So I check my iPad and I check my computer, and they both say 3:30 a.m. And so I go downstairs and I check the clock on the stove, 3:31 a.m. I'm like checking every clock in the house. And I'm like, did I just die and come back to life like 5.5 hours later? Because that's what it feels like. Like I genuinely don't know what just happened. Like, I guess I was asleep. It was like a stream of consciousness, though. Like, I had the same thought when I woke up that I had when I was going to bed. Like, I need to check and set my alarm before it turns 10:01, or I'm gonna have to stay up until 10:30. Like, that was the thought process I had. And I literally blinked. Like, I literally blinked next day. 5.5 hours later, I checked like all the messages I had sent right before I went to bed, and like sure enough, they were like delivered 5.5 hours, 5 hours before. And I'm like, oh my god, what just happened? What just happened? Like, it literally, I just ceased to exist in between 10 and 3:30 apparently, because I have no recollection. Like, it, bam. The only thing I can equate this to is whenever I got my wisdom teeth taken out and I went under anesthesia, and I was counting down, and then all of a sudden I was waking up and they were telling me that I was done, because I wasn't that tired, and I woke up with the exact same thought. Like, can anyone explain to me what kind of sleep that is? Because I've been trying to research it, but I can't put it into words to form a Google search. So if anyone knows, like if there's a medical professional that knows what that kind of sleep is called, please let me know, because I'm fascinated and freaked out at the same time.
I really don't know what it is about doppelgangers that creeps me out so much. It's one thing to know that a person out there looks exactly like you, but it's a whole other thing to actually see them with your own eyes, let alone talk to them. Answer this in the comments. Would you befriend yourself if you saw yourself, as in your own doppelganger? Or would you be too creeped out to talk to them? Let's find out.
It literally looks like you. Yeah. Oh my god, that's so weird. The other day, I got mistaken for the same person twice within a few hours of each other, and it's kind of freaking me out. I know I don't have the most unique looking face ever, but I was at work and this guy came in and he was like, oh, hey again. And I was like, oh, hey. And he was like, oh, so you work at 2 locations? And I was like, no, I only work here. And he was like, I thought I saw you at this location and the school that I go to, because it's close to the school that I go to. And there's a location at that one too. And I was like, oh no, I only work here. And then I get off work and I go to school to get my ID. And the lady at the ID center is like, oh, I remember you from earlier. Let me go see, like, if your ID's here. And I was like, okay, like, maybe she just saw me in the system or something. And then she's like, I'm sorry, I remember you, but I forget your name. Can I see your ID again? And I'm like, oh, no, this is the first time I've been here. And she's like, oh my god, you totally have a doppelganger. And the lady working with her is like, oh, you totally do. You look like this other chick.
This next clip is long, but it's incredible. It's about a child who remembers their past life, as in a life they lived before this one. It is such a creepy and unsettling topic, but it's a subject that I really enjoy talking about. Would you like me to make a full video on this topic? There's so many examples of kids remembering creepy, accurate details of past lives they seemingly couldn't have known, and yet they do. Let's check this one out.
So my 3.5-year-old daughter lately has been saying things that sound like a past life type of thing, and it is really freaking me out. It's happened maybe 5 or 6 times in the last 3 months. It's not overly detailed by any means. It started, I was driving her to preschool and she started asking me, Mommy, where was I before I was in your belly? And I wasn't really quite sure where that was coming from, or even quite frankly how to answer her. So I said, you were with God, you were in heaven, you were waiting to be born. And she said, no, that's not where I was in a house. I said, okay, you were in a house. And she said, yeah, I was in a house with my other mommy and dad and my sister. In our house, I have 2 girls and a son. And so again, I thought she was still talking about our family. And I said, well, where was Andrew, my son? And she said, oh no, I didn't have a brother then. I only had a sister. So I asked her if her mommy and daddy were nice to her. And she said, yes, they were very nice. But our house was very cold. I was always cold. The conversations have been very, very similar to that. Again, I'm not getting any other information except she remembers a house. She had a sister and she was cold. And she keeps asking me questions about this life or this house or this sister. And when I don't have the answer, she's getting very frustrated with me. She'll say, no, Mommy, but where is that house? Where is that sister? And I obviously can't answer that question. I honestly, I don't know how to handle this.
My daughter had just turned 2, and one day I was taking her somewhere, and I put her in her car seat, and we headed out, and she got very melancholy and sad all of a sudden, and she's looking out the window, and she goes, I miss my parents. And I was like, girl, what do you mean? I'm like, right here. And I go, oh, because daddy's at work? You miss daddy? And she got very serious, and she goes, no, I miss my parents. First, I was like, excuse me. But second, I was like, that's a really weird thing to say, because a 2-year-old saying parent, we just say mommy and daddy. I've never said, oh, I'm your parent, especially since she's only 2. So that was a really weird terminology to choose. So I said, hey, you're having really big feelings right now. Do you want to talk about it? And so what I gathered from that conversation is that she lost her parents, and then she lost her sister, and then she said, and then I was an orphan. A 2-year-old said those exact words. And then I was an orphan. I'm like, where did you learn that word? So that was like my first inkling and sign, like maybe she is telling the truth, because I've never taught her that word. So years go by, and each time she would go through really sad days where we would be doing something and maybe it brought back a memory, or she'd have like a glazed look on her face and a recollection would come back. She would tell me about it. And so what I was able to gather basically is that she lived during a plague time. Her town got knocked out. She lost a lot of neighbors. In her family, her mom died first, and then her dad died, and then it was just her and her little sister for a while, and then her little sister died, and then she was all alone. And that makes sense now, because this kid now, she needs to be around all the time. She is a living room kid. She wants to always be around someone. She wants someone to play with. She likes companionship. She hates being alone. It's her biggest thing. What I was able to gather about the plague situation is I don't think it was an earlier plague. I think it was a later plague, because one day we were driving by and this house had a bunch of old tractors in the yard for show, and we were driving by and a very, very old one, and she pointed at it and she goes, my granddaddy used to have that tractor. And I was taken aback because, girl, no, my dad did not own a tractor, so no, your granddaddy did not. So years go by, fast forward to 3 years old, and one day I'm putting her shoes on her, and she was like, mommy, I picked you. And I was like, what do you mean you picked me? And she says, they showed me you guys, and I got to choose you. They showed me what my life would be, and I chose you guys. I wanted to be with you guys. And I didn't know who she meant by they or them. And the way she talked about it seemed like a higher spirit of some sort. So fast forward to 4 years old, she's going to preschool. We decided to sign her up for this preschool tied to a church, because she was taking interest in religion, and we were the kind of parents who wanted our children to choose what they wanted to be. We did not want to shove anything down their throats, and we want them to be who they wanted to be. So anyways, we signed her up for this. That happened to be a mistake, because one day I pick her up and she's like, Mommy, I need to talk to you about something I learned today. And I said, okay, go for it. And she says, my teacher today told me that marriage is between a man and a woman. Is that true? Because where I'm from, it doesn't matter. I'm like, girl, what do you mean where you're from? Like, where are you from? So that was probably one of our last big events with her, and she was 4 at that time. So from 2 to 4, she had really talked a lot about a past life, and there was just moments that would trigger it for her. So now she doesn't remember anything from her past life. She remembers having conversations with me about it. When she asks about it, it's because she remembers those. She does not remember her past life in general anymore. And I think that a lot of that just has to do with, as you get older in this life and you have experiences, it kind of takes away from your old experiences. But one thing's for sure, 2 things for certain, I will forever be a believer in past lives and reincarnation, because I've seen it with my own eyes.
To wrap up this video, I've included my very own out-of-body experience, which I still think about even all these years later. Check this out and let me know if you've ever had something like this happen to you. I want to hear all of your stories. Have you ever had an out-of-body experience before? This weird phenomenon is defined as a sensation of being outside one's own body and being able to observe one's own self from a distance. If you'd like, in the future we could go much deeper into this strange mystery and the causes behind it, but for today, I'd like to focus on my own personal experience. So here is my story. I have only had one out-of-body experience, and it was so powerful that I remember every single detail of it to this day. I was laying on my couch in the living room, taking a nap, which I rarely do. I point this detail out because who knows if unfamiliar sleeping environments has anything to do with this. Anyway, I woke up because I needed to go to the bathroom. So I stood up, and I walked across the living room and into the hallway, when I noticed the bathroom was already in use. It's only my girlfriend and I living here, so I figured I'd go back to the couch and wait my turn. As I turned around and looked back towards the couch, there I was, laying on the couch, still asleep. And then I instantly woke up on the couch. It was as if the shock of it instantaneously teleported me back to where I started. I sat upright, completely stunned. After a few seconds, I stood up because I still needed to go to the bathroom. So I got up, walked down into the hallway, and sure enough, the bathroom was occupied. This time when I turned around, I wasn't there. This is one of the most surreal moments I've ever experienced. It felt so real, and I've never encountered anything like this before or since. So here's my question for you. Have you ever had an out-of-body experience before? If so, let's get talking in the comments. Until next time, never stop searching.